Greetings. Today, we are on the passion and death of Christ. John chapter 18, verse 1 to chapter 19, verse 42. Jesus offers himself freely in obedience to the Father, unveiling sacrificial love. By his wounds we are healed. Christ understands human weakness and draws us confidently to mercy. Are you willing to journey with Christ? Are you willing to embrace this very mercy? In this very video, I'm going to carry you briefly across every stage of the passion of Christ, beginning with his arrest to his trial, crucifixion, death, and burial.
Created April 17, 2020, we are an assembly of Christians and without the care of our different denominations came together with the sole purpose of rebuilding our world by word of scripture. We are the Our World Group.
Christ was there with his disciples in the garden. He asked these very disciples to accompany him in prayer, even though they were sleeping. Jesus went on to pray because he knew what was ahead of him. And Judas, with the high priest and the Pharisees, approached him with swords, weapons, and torches. Judas immediately handed Jesus over to them. When Jesus asked, "Whom do you seek?" they responded that, "Jesus the Nazarene." And Jesus said, "I am he." That is how Christ was handed over. And he was taken first to Annas. Annas was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest at that very time. After questioning Jesus, asking him about his ministry, asking him about his disciples, he decided to send Jesus over to Caiaphas, who made it very clear that it was very necessary for one man to die for the people. And to him, Christ was the option. But I'd like you to understand this. This was in fulfillment of the scripture. Caiaphas immediately sent Jesus to Pilate. I'd like you to understand this. Pilate kept insisting, "I find no case against him." And this made the Jewish people to be more angry. Pilate insisted that, "I find no case against him," removing his hands from the issue of Christ, making it very clear that he has seen no case against Jesus. They had it in their tradition that during this very period, someone was to be released. And Pilate turned around to them and asked, "Do you wish that I release the king of the Jews?" The people were more angry. But they chose Barabbas to be released, who was a robber. To them, they felt that Barabbas should be released instead of Jesus. The Jewish people made it very clear to Pilate that if he chooses to release Jesus, then he has gone against Caesar. And Pilate, hearing this, he removed his hands completely and asked them to carry Christ away. The soldiers came, crowned him with thorns, and a purple garment was worn on Christ. On his cross, Pilate wrote there, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." When he was questioned by many who saw this, he said that he has written it. Christ carried his cross over to Calvary, where he was crucified and he died. Calvary was known in Hebrews as Golgotha. But I'd like you to understand this. Under the cross, when Jesus was crucified, under this very cross was Mary, his mother, Mary of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. And looking at Mary, he mentioned to the disciple whom he had loved so much that, "Behold your mother." He handed over this very disciple to Mary and handed Mary over to him. When he had finished doing this, he said, "I thirst." One of the soldiers brought a sponge soaked in vinegar and pushed it into his mouth. And Christ consumed it. He bent down his head, and then Christ died. I'd like you to understand this. When Christ died, his body was on the cross. It was already the period of Passover. But what happened here is that Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea had to go to Pilate to plead with him so that Jesus' body could be handed over to them for burial. And Pilate, listening to them, he gave them the permission to take Jesus' body. They carried Jesus to a nearby tomb where he was buried. Christ died for our sake. He died to set us free. As you receive this very message, allow him to resurrect your situation. As you receive this very message, focus with reverence that you may feel the impact of this very cross in your life. As you receive this very message, bow down your head in prayer. Heavenly Father, help us to stand at the foot of the cross with faith and reverence. Open our hearts to feel the depth of your Son's sacrifice. May we feel the impact of his presence in our lives. Amen. Stay blessed.